not get delayed further, because we've got a lot of work to do, lot of syllabus that I have been told to cover, and very limited time. So thoda sa we'll race a little bit. No, I've got the marker. Thank you. So we'll race a little bit, so don't just excuse me for that. But one thing I will definitely want to ask before we start anything in the class, I don't know whether you guys have attended any of my classes of marketing or not. I don't know, because so many different permutations and combinations. Just one request, if you want to make this class interesting for yourself and you want to make it a worthwhile experience, देखो Sunday morning उठ के आना, I know it's a effort. If you've taken that effort, make use of it, and in order to make the class worthwhile, please participate. Because I don't have theory. So don't worry, there is no theory that I'll be doing. I'll be looking at marketing from a more practical perspective. And in order for that perspective to work for you guys, I need lots of examples from you. I have plenty of them from my side, but some of those examples you may not be comfortable or you may not be familiar with. I'll share the notes, that's separate. But I want you to participate in the class, otherwise this will become a very, very boring exercise. Rather than that, let's make it something which is interesting and productive, okay? So, in today's class, we are supposed to be doing lots of things. We are supposed to, now you guys correct me, which all topics have you done? Please remind me, have you covered product life cycle in your previous classes? वहाँ तक पहुँचे आप लोग? Product life cycle, unit 4, that should be unit 4 in your syllabus. If you've reached that point, or हाँ जी, अच्छा STP की है, उसके बाद नहीं किया आप लोगों ने ना, ठीक है, then we are on the right track, ठीक है, perfect, ठीक है. So then the problem now becomes is, एक तो अच्छी बात है कि we know where we are, but the problem is now we know कि हम कितने पीछे हैं. So we'll have to now run to catch up. So please just bear with us, okay? So now when we look at, so I'm starting with your unit 3, I'm finishing off unit 3 का एक छोटा सा topic है, which is marketing strategies, and then we are moving on to other parts. So today we should be covering marketing strategy, product life cycle, branding, packaging and pricing. इतना सारा हमारा इतना लंबा चौड़ा काम है. So please let's get to work. I better come. Okay, so we are talking of marketing strategies, and the first question that we have with marketing strategies is, we want growth. So the question is, how do we grow? Now there are 3 options with which we can look at growth. One is our core business. Second is expanding demand, and the third one is okay, so basically 3 ways. One is I am looking at expanding my original business, what I typically tend to do. So let's say if I'm a company, let's say I'm Britannia, and my core business is making breads and cakes. So I'm trying to grow that market by offering perhaps different varieties of bread, I'm offering better prices, I'm offering new taste, new flavors, all those kind of things. That is what we mean by the core business. Then we are expanding total demand. It should be not demand, we should call it expanding total demand, because the difference is that I can expand it in a small part, but I want to expand my total demand. Whatever products I'm selling, whatever customers are buying. And there's another thing which I want to add to this is, I don't know if you've covered this concept before, which is called a wallet share. The wallet share logic is that I, as a customer, mentally allocate X rupees for a particular product or for a particular input or a particular consumption which I'm going to do. So say for example, I am a customer who is using X rupees on shaving care products, shaving and face care products. I have given X rupees. Now that X could be divided amongst 5 different companies. So my shaving blades could come from another company, my brush could come from somewhere else, the cream would come from somewhere else. So what is happening is my market share or my wallet share is fragmented, which is why when I look at a company like, say for example, Gillette, Gillette tries to give you everything from a shaving brush to a shaving razor to a shaving cream to an aftershave lotion. They try to give you everything. Why? Because they want to have a greater portion of the wallet share in their pocket. Because otherwise, what will happen is, if I have a small wallet share in the minds of the customer, his or her willingness to forget me is going to be higher. And if they forget me, they are going to a competitor. So जो मेरा छोटा सा wallet share है मैं उसको भी lose कर जाऊंगा, which is what we don't want. So when we're talking of our core business, so let me take an example. How can I grow my core business? So the first thing, I'll just give you one to give you a flavor. I'll give the 2-3 points which are supposed to be there. Channels and okay, value को मैं brackets में डाल रहा हूँ because it's not said, but that is what we expect it to be. So when I'm trying to grow my core business, these are the 4 factors. Now, can you give me, or do you want me to explain the factors, or do we go straight to the examples? I think these are self-explanatory on their own. USP is your unique selling point. I'm sure you've heard of that concept. So be distinctive. So can you give me an example of a company who is distinctive in its primary product? So Colgate hai, to Colgate is the dominant player in toothpaste. Colgate and toothpaste are synonyms. The way Maggi, Nestle and Maggi are again synonyms. Can you give me another company whose products are, it is distinctive in what it does? Surf Excel, yes. So let me, instead of calling it the brand, let me say it's P&G rather than a particular brand. So if उनका product है, so मैं master company में जा रहा हूँ, P&G. P&G is again a market leader in many product categories, Surf Excel being one of them. Any other? But problem क्या है? Detergents में ना problem ये होती है. Example is all right, but the distinctive part in detergents is difficult to determine because many of them are similar products. So that's why the answer is correct, but can you give me a slightly more focused example? Again, a product which is easily copyable. किसान के लिए jam distinctive है, true, but the point is कि other jam companies are also similar. That is the only problem. Answer is correct. The question, the example is correct. But the point is, let's take a more focused distinction, a more distinct distinction. Let me use a word like that. हाँ जी? Apple's processor, perhaps. Let's look at it from a more FMCG perspective. Starbucks ले लो. It's unique, it's distinctive. Though it's selling coffee, Costa भी वही बेच रहा है, barista भी वही बेच रहा है. But what is different in Starbucks, what is distinctive to Starbucks is the experience. And why are you paying a price premium? Those of you who've been to Starbucks, it is hugely overpriced. I think I've got a flask of coffee जितनी मैं भर के अभी पी रहा था. That flask, if I buy from Starbucks, would be at least $300. This is what? 2 scoops, a machine, coffee, water, end of story. And it's the same coffee that you'll get in Starbucks. But what is Starbucks charging you for? मेरे केस में क्या है? How am I having coffee? Walking around with a flask. What is my coffee drinking experience? Nothing. And when you go to Starbucks, what is your experience? A nice ambience, lights hai, properly decorated hai, soft seats, somebody's coming and serving you. There's that whole smell of coffee running around the place. Those of you who like it, personal choice. I love that smell. So मैं Starbucks के अंदर नहीं जाऊँगा, मैं बाहर जाके smell ज़रूर करूँगा. Let me be very honest. I am an Indian conjuice. I'll be honest. But the point is that is what Starbucks is charging you for. And because they are distinctive, they have an ability to command a price premium, which is where the marketing part comes in. Eventually, what are we doing in marketing? We are trying to motivate the customer to buy our product, and we motivate him so much that he becomes price insensitive. Even though it may be expensive, उसको इतना अच्छा लग रहा है मेरा product कि वो उसको खरीदने आएगा. He is willing to buy. वो willingness को मैं push कर रहा हूँ उनकी. That's all. So I'm growing my core business by being distinctive. I can grow my business by adding new channels. Channels will be channels of sale or retail. So I'll give you one example. It will be again sticking to the coffee theme only. It's a company called Costa Coffee. I'm sure you've heard of it. And I'm sure you've seen it now in multiple locations. Pehle Costa started out life by being a direct competitor to Barista. उसके भी outlets थे, वही वैसा ही एक store बड़ा सा, वैसा ही coffee, वैसा ही theme. But Costa realized that I am quickly becoming a Me Too product. क्योंकि Barista भी वही कर रहा है, CCD भी वही कर रहा है, Costa भी वही कर रहा है. Where is the distinction? So what they realized was that instead of being distinctive in the product, the way Starbucks is, they realized that we can be distinctive by blanketing the market. So आपको उसका retail outlet भी मिलेगा, आपको उसकी vending machine भी मिलेगी, आपको उसके छोटे, you will see Costa in many hotels, coffee chains, even in hospitals where they will have outlets. So what are they doing? Instead of being just a normal retail channel, they are everywhere now. And that is their USP, blanket the market. जहाँ customer turn करे उसको एक Costa Coffee का outlet दिखना चाहिए. Don't give him the choice to go to any other company. That is where the channel part comes in. Okay. Then we have USP. So can you give me an example of a company where the core business is the USP? Core, bilkul core, which is their USP. They do that one product better than anybody else. BlackBerry ka BBM Messenger, yes. But the problem with the BBM Messenger was the only way to monetize it was that you had to have a BlackBerry device. So it is a USP, yes, but the problem with the USP is that if I have difficulty in accessing the USP and I have difficulty in making the USP mass market, तो फिर मेरे किसी काम का नहीं है. That is the problem. And last में you are right. If those of you who remember, you guys would be very young to remember that. नहीं यार, मैं इतना भी बुजुर्ग नहीं हूँ. Some people would remember. I'm not pointing to anybody, but at the end of its life, when BlackBerry was on its death row, in that sense, they did make the BBM Messenger available to everybody. But by the time they were able to come to the party, the world had changed, and WhatsApp, Facebook, and these guys were just round the corner. So BBM couldn't survive. So USP के साथ सबसे बड़ा problem है, how do I monetize it in multiple product categories? That is the problem. BBM USP था, but उसके लिए device के साथ वो stuck था. And because BlackBerry was always a niche player, they were never able to get a wide mass stream of that product. Anybody else wants to try? Android का USP क्या है? True, but what is the uniqueness? Uniqueness. Android में क्या unique है ऐसा? Now you say it in this way. Because Android is open source, that is its USP, that allows it to be mass market, जो आप कह रहे हैं. You are telling me step 2, this is step 1. So जब आप example देंगे ना, in your exam also, please go to the foundation. Don't give me the top level तक पहुंचना, true. But give me the foundation first. So the foundation is for Android success. The reason behind Android success are two things. One is it is Google, obviously. Second is that it is open source and Google shares the code with everybody. So आपको वो 5000 के फोन में भी Android मिल जाएगा और 1.5 lakh के Samsung के फोन में भी Android मिल जाएगा. But obviously they will customize it. But the success reason behind is that it is open source, which allows it to be a mass market player, which is very right. It is the दो ही OS हैं आज की डेट में phones में, which is iOS and Android, right? Another example of USP which I'll give you is, which is a more distinctive example, is Honda. Now Honda as a company sells everything from lawnmowers to aircraft. What is common in all of it? So they are into bikes, super bikes, they are into Activa, they are into cars, they are into lawnmowers, they make boat engines, they make engines for air, they have their own aircraft, generators, gensets Honda के आते हैं. क्या common है इन सारों में? That is the USP. अब क्या हुआ, वो USP है, I can now use it in multiple domains. Though I may not have expertise in making a car, but I know how to make a good engine. Rest of the things can follow. So that is the point with the USP. One thing, star thing which I do, which I can take up to my customers. Then I add on to what I offer. value. So take for example a company like Under Armour. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's a clothing brand. What does Under Armour do? It offers you that whole cred. एक वो credibility होती है, street cred what we call it. They become popular because they are youth oriented. They are giving the customers something beyond just a simple piece of cloth. They are giving the buy-in to that whole product, the brand ambassador, the branding, the product linkages. These are all value adds. Why would you buy Under Armour? Why would you pay a price premium for it? Monte Carlo, ले लो ना. What's wrong with Monte Carlo? The cool question. What is wrong with Monte Carlo? It's traditional. So people of your age will not wear Monte Carlo. I am still ये Monte Carlo है शायद. हाँ. So this is one of them. I keep it because it looks semi-professional. But Under Armour is mostly youth-oriented. But that's their marketing. That's all right. Nothing wrong in it. Choosing your market. You have done STP. You guys know where that perspective is. And you can also add more value by offering different products. And for that, one is Vicks. Vicks का inhaler भी आएगा, vapor up भी आता है. They have lots of variations of that same product. They stuck to the core. Vicks, throat relief, pain relief. Then they moved into inhalers. They are into vapor rub, baby rub अलग से आता है एक. They've got this inhaler with a roll-on at the back of it. Vicks की तो वो आती है, lozenges आती हैं. They're trying to do everything. So offering more to the customer. Then how do I expand total demand? I have newer products. I have ease of use. Okay, then we have changing. Let's use another word. Upgrade, replace, and ecosystem will link to wallet share. Okay. Now, let's take the first one. So newer products. So I am expanding total demand, right? So again, let's stick with our Starbucks example. So Starbucks core business is coffee, which is the other product which Starbucks sells, which typically you guys would have seen. Coffee ही है, but in a different direction and at a different retail channel. Can you give me an example? I'm sure you've seen their product. Cold coffee?
Cold coffee with ice cream.
Starbucks की cold coffee कौन सी है? उसका brand क्या है? वो उसका variant है. Brand क्या है? टाटा तो उसका joint venture partner है. पार्टनर है, सप्लायर नहीं है, पार्टनर है. पार्टनर है. इट्स अ जॉइंट वेंचर अग्रीमेंट. 33% वाला अग्रीमेंट है ये. थिंक आई एम श्योर जैसे मैं नाम बोलूँ आपको याद आ जाए. इट विल क्लिक. फ्रैपुचिनो. इट विल क्लिक. द प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट दैट आपके पास डॉट्स नहीं है, इट्स जस्ट दैट वी नीड टू कनेक्ट द डॉट्स. सो फ्रैपुचिनो इज स्टारबक्स आंसर टू कोल्ड कॉफी. Typically, the customer who comes to a Starbucks store is not looking for cold coffee. Because the experience is that you sit, you sip a cup of coffee, you do a little bit of work, have your business meeting, then you go away. Cold coffee, when they launched Frappuccino, they deliberately didn't sell it in the store. They deliberately sold it only in supermarkets. Because they wanted customers to have an experience of Starbucks ka coffee without diluting the experience of the parent brand, which is Starbucks, which is why it was not called Starbucks cold coffee. They brought a completely new brand called Frappuccino. Though the logo is the same, everything else is different. So so I add newer products to expand total demand. But if Starbucks tomorrow starts launching a detergent powder, it's not going to work. It has to be related to what I do. Maybe Starbucks could launch a bakery, because they do have baked products, they do have cookies. और आप CCD अगर जाएंगे, Cafe Coffee Day, if you go, one of their business lines is selling cookies and other eatables. And in my case, for example, my wife was admitted in hospital for a few months. I kept coming and going to the hospital. So वहाँ का CCD became a popular haunt. And my son was always like, he used to go there. Obviously, he can't have coffee, he's too young. बट उसके लिए एक वो 25 रुपीज़ का उनका एक पैकेट होता था कुकीज़ का, विच वुड हैव 4 cookies, and that was his bribe of being quiet in the hospital. That was his bribe, and that bribe was that cookies. And they make a good business out of it as well. So I'm just expanding total demand. So if cookies weren't there, perhaps I wouldn't have gone to CCD, I would have gone to the cafeteria in the hospital directly. CCD would have lost a customer for its coffee. By providing that extra product, they got both the customer to the core product and to the newer product as well. So I'm expanding the total demand, I'm expanding my share of the customer wallet for that particular product category. Then we had ease of use. So can you tell me how ease of use, how easily I can consume the product will have an impact on my ability to consume it. So, example, anybody wants to try? Ready to use भी हो सकता है, ready to eat products could be there. I could give you one example, एक आप लोगों ने कभी notice किया होगा, there's this thing called WD-40. It's a lubricating oil. ठीक है, typically lubricating oils jar में आते हैं, आपको कैप खोल के उसको डालना पड़ता है, and then obviously there will be wastage. So what WD-40 did, they took the same oil, उसको उन्होंने एक spray can में डाला और उसके ऊपर एक nozzle लगा दिया. So now when I need to, for example, I'm oiling the chain of my bicycle, I don't need to have oil dripping on the floor. मैंने उसको spray किया, it becomes a perfume. Spray किया, एक दो बारी chain को घुमाया, it gets absorbed. So now instead of me, मैं पहले perhaps I would not have used that particular brand, but now I'm using it because they made it easy for me to use it. आपको ये दिखेगा उसमें another company which was doing something similar is Scotch Brite. They make it easy for you to use their products for whatever cleaning purposes you want. Scotch Brite is always there. That is where I'm looking at ease of use. Then we are enticing customers to upgrade or replace. Give me an example of this, which entices you to upgrade or replace. Apple, yes, to an extent, yes. So by locking out software upgrades after a particular period in time, if you want the latest software, they will encourage you to upgrade. But ऐसा नहीं है कि नहीं चलता नहीं रहता. It keeps working, but it will miss out on the newer features that would be available in the market. And Apple has also been accused somewhat fairly of slowing down older devices as well in an attempt to get customers to upgrade. It is unproven, but that is one way where the customer feels नहीं यार ये पुराना हो गया phone. We need to upgrade. It would happen with any electronic device, laptops, mobile phones being a common example. Another more simple example which you will see every day is Gillette. Those of you who use a Gillette razor, उसके ऊपर एक strip है. After you use it for a few days, that strip fades out. And the fading is an indicator, chalo, now go and replace. And the problem with the Gillette model, which is similar to the HP model, is कि Gillette के razor पे Gillette का ही cartridge लगेगा. HP के printer में HP का ही cartridge लगेगा. Obviously, we have these companies which are offering compatible cartridges, but their performance is not as good as the original one. But we being Indians, हमें लगता है चल 800 रुपये ही तो cartridge है, 3000 के original है, कौन लेगा? 3 आ जाएंगे उतने में तो. So and we end up buying the duplicator. But right now I have an HP printer, so उसके मैंने वो I got that ink tank वाला because the inks are cheaper. So I went to my neighborhood store जिससे मैं IT वाला सामान लेता हूँ. So क्या मैंने उसको बोला भाई give me the compatible color. He said ठीक है भैया मैं आपको दे दूंगा लेकिन ये मत कहना कि इसका हेड खराब हो गया बाद में. आप मत लेके जाओ. He knows the business that I am going to give him. He said आप मत लेके जाओ, आप original ही लेके जाओ. But original is $1,500 bucks. मैं कहा ठीक है दे दो, कोई बात नहीं. It's not hugely expensive. So again, what they're trying to do is trying to encourage you to upgrade and replace, and by making the product of a particular quality, what they're doing, they're encouraging me to stay with HP original products, original inks. Right? Otherwise, I can go to a competitor. Again, what they're trying to do is, एक इसमें एक term होती है, they're trying to lock me into that particular product. और उसके साथ we move into the next topic, which is ecosystem. Ecosystem is what? Can you give me an example of an ecosystem product? Apple is a good example. So Apple's devices are very friendly with each other. They work together very well with each other. But you try and use an Apple product with say Android apps, it will not be as effective. But if you use Apple with Apple apps, it works smoothly. Same way could be take Xiaomi as an example. Samsung, Xiaomi, Oppo, OnePlus, all of these guys are trying to now sell you products which are supposed to be better compatible with their own devices. So I'll give you one example. मेरे पास एक Xiaomi का हैंडसेट हुआ करता था, उसके साथ मैंने वो ले ली माई वॉच, माई बैंड. माई वॉच नहीं थी तब, बैंड था. सो उसमें एक फीचर था दैट इट वुड वर्क ओनली विद अ Xiaomi डिवाइस विच वॉज अ रिमोट फॉर द कैमरा. बाकी वो वॉच हर फोन के साथ चलेगी. But that one crucial feature they restricted only to a Xiaomi phone in the way to get you to ecosystem. अब आप Xiaomi का आपके पास अगर किसी के पास Redmi के buds हैं, earbuds हैं, वो TWS वाले earbuds हैं, if you open it up next to a Xiaomi phone, they pair up instantly. If you do it with an Apple or a Oppo or any other brand, आपको उसमें कोड डाल के pair करना पड़ेगा उसको. One extra step. But that is where the ecosystem comes in. अभी कल परसों में Samsung is launching this S23 Ultra. I don't know if you've seen the ads in the newspaper. हाँ जी, मैं जब launch हो रहा था मैं तब की ad देख रहा था. So उसमें they were saying you buy the S23 Ultra and you get the watch and buds for 4,999. They were offering that newspaper में I saw it on my Hindustan Times का front page की ad, पूरा page की ad थी उसपे. Why? Again, they're encouraging people to buy Samsung ecosystem, because by making that ecosystem product, you give value addition to your primary product. Everything remains in that ecosystem itself. They are very friendly with each other. That's where the part comes in. Then we look at how do I protect my market share. One of the best ways that we do for protecting the market share is advertise. Then we have create demand, innovate, or create demand. We innovate to create demand. Then we defend. Then we have counter offensive. And we have withdrawal. So give me examples, please. Advertise. एक brand जो बहुत advertise करता है. Pepsi and Coke. Why do they need to advertise so much? वो भी एक requirement है ना. It's specific to the product. Why does Coke and Pepsi need to advertise so much? हाँ जी? Recall. They have to remain relevant in the minds of the customer, because actually आप देखो तो वो क्या product offer कर रहे हैं आपको? Water and some chemicals. और क्या उनके प्रोडक्ट में? कुछ भी नहीं है. तीसरी चीज क्या है? वाटर एंड केमिकल्स ही है. बट व्हाई डू यू ड्रिंक इट? बिकॉज दे आर एडवर्टाइजिंग इट दैट वे एंड दे आर कीपिंग इट रेलिवेंट. सो जब आपको लगता है अच्छा आई एम फीलिंग थर्स्टी, इट्स द समर सीजन, आई एम फीलिंग थर्स्टी, चलो लेट्स हैव अ कोल्ड ड्रिंक. कोल्ड ड्रिंक में फिर आप बाय ब्रांड, देन यू आस्क फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर product because you like the taste out of it. So advertising is very essential. Another company which advertises very well is Amul. They may not need to advertise so much, but whatever they advertise, their advertisements are always up to date. कहीं कुछ होगा आपका, उसके एक दो दिन में एक उसका ad आ जाएगा. And न्यूज़पेपर में आएगा, billboards में आएगा, online आ जाएगा, because they want to keep the customers. So their advertisement philosophy is that we want to remain relevant without spending too much of money on advertising, because eventually Amul is a cooperative. घूम फिर के they don't spend so much on advertising, but they have to spend enough to remain relevant. Then we have create demand. So can you give me an example of a product which created a product category which never existed before that product came along? It was Genesis. Can you give me an example of a product which was Genesis?
So what about diamonds?
हाँ जी?
What about diamonds?
Diamonds are not a product in that sense because they exist. I am talking about a product which has emerged into the market. It was never there before, and now it is a market dominant product. Earbuds, wireless, पहले आ चुके हैं. Go back a little bit. ये इतने unique नहीं है. It is just an extension of the technology of a wireless. जो पहले आपके हेडफोन आते थे, जो आप माउंट करते थे, ब्लूटूथ वाले, उनको बस श्रिंक करते गए आप, और कुछ नहीं है. टेक्नोलॉजी वही है, ब्लूटूथ ही है सब में, चीज़ वही है. It is just a different usage scenario. So you could call it newer products. It's a Bluetooth headset only. So जैसे Starbucks ने Frappuccino launch किया वही चीज़ है, but it's a slightly different take on an existing technology, but something which was brand new. I can give you one example, the iPod. Nobody had a portable music player which played MP3 files and which was light enough to be put on the sleeve of your t-shirt while you were going running and jogging. No, it didn't exist before that. A tablet, an iPad, it never existed. No, nobody had a tablet before iPad came along. Today, everybody has it. So unique products which were market leaders. Huh, if I stick to, let's say I stick to the diamond theme only, artificial diamonds, they don't exist. They are zirconium वाले जो diamond है, they are a new innovation. So they changed the market. Nobody had that product before they came to the party. Right? That's where the part is. Then I defend my position. I can defend with many of the things. Sticking to the Surf Excel example which we got at the start of the class. Now, how does Surf defend itself against an Indian brand like Nirma? How does Surf do that? Surf or Ariel for that matter. How do they defend against Nirma? Because Nirma has the power to undercut them. How do they defend against Nirma? हाँ जी? So discount कह लो उसको, one way of discount is मैं आपको extra product दे रहा हूँ for the same price. They have different products, Wheel, Tide, Rin, ये हैं उनके defenders. Because they fight with Nirma, so that Nirma cannot go up the value chain. वो Nirma को वहीं रखते हैं. And because Surf, अगर now it's the same story which I keep giving the same example. Why can't Apple give you an iPhone which is cheaper? They can easily give you an iPhone for 20 grand, easily. But why don't they? Huh? They can easily sell it to you for 20,000 bucks. उनकी जो manufacturing cost है, it is 1/3 of their selling price. Less than 1/3 है उनकी selling price. So अगर 50 का phone है, तो 20 में आपको आराम से बेच सकता है and still make a profit. They want exclusivity. It's the same story. Why cannot Surf sell you a Surf Lite or an Ariel Lite? क्योंकि वो premium brand dilute होता है. So to prevent brand dilution, you have a flank. आपके पीछे आपका सस्ते वाला product है, जो deeper penetrate कर रहा है, and you are focusing on the tier 1 market. And Wheel and Rin and Nirma, these guys are tier 2, tier 3 markets. So you don't dilute yourself. You have other brands which come in to support you. They are your allies. Okay? Then you offend, go on the counter offensive. Can you give me an example? Company which has gone on a counter offensive with their product launches. How counter offensive? Advertising हो गया ना? नहीं आजकल वो पेप्सी वाले, वो हमें भी पता है, वो कोक और पेप्सी वो आपस में लड़ते रहते. There's no third brand. वही दोनों है. Can you give me an example of a company which is launching a counter offensive? Meaning counter offensive यहाँ पे हुआ, they have, their market has been suppressed. Somebody gave the example of Apple coming out with their own chips. So कहाँ से आए वो chip? किसका replace हुआ chip? Intel का हुआ chip? So if you bought a MacBook in say 2017, 2018, they had Intel chips. So Intel का market चला गया ना. So Intel is now on the defensive. How do they attack? Counter offensive is the market. Or Intel was also being hurt by AMD. AMD was increasing at the lower end of the chain. ऊपर Apple आ गया, Intel बीच में फंस गया. It can't go up, it can't go down. वो फंस गया वहाँ पे. And that is where comes the term, they were stagnating. And stagnation is something which you never want for a company. क्योंकि आपको पता नहीं होगा फिर उसके बाद आपको होगा क्या. Once you stagnate, once you slow down. So they went on the counter offensive. Intel का आपने देखा होगा बहुत सारी advertisements आ गई आजकल वापस. They have aggressively advertised the product. They have been aggressive in making their manufacturer tie-ups, and they're aggressively pushing their product again. पहले उन्होंने बीच में advertisements छोड़ दी थी बिल्कुल. Again picking it back to be able to get back into the market, and then you withdraw. Can you give an example of an Indian of a company which, हाँ जी? How?
the cars that they decide
Yes.
to make, market में put in करते हैं आपको तुम्हें मिल रहा है
True.
that will pick up a great market, right?
True.
But that it didn't go as well as they planned, right?
True.
After Indica, I guess, there was no other car that they launched, and again now they started marketing aggressively.
Tata Motors is a good
Messi,
example.
employed Messi, and then now they have picked up the market again.
True. And that's the learning. They started doing this in 2015 because 7 years after they acquired that company, उनको एक दिन बैठे बैठे याद है अरे यार we also own Jaguar. Why not take design cues and learning from them? Why not become a semi-premium player? So if you look at the Harrier for example, कभी ध्यान से देखना Harrier and look at a Range Rover Evoque. Evoque. They look like second, third cousin. There's this family resemblance. And when Tata started leveraging the know-how of Jaguar in making quality products, that's the time when they launched their counter-offensive. They went back and today they are number 2 flirting with number 3 in the number 2 number 3 ke beech mein, depending on how you classify them. They are after Maruti, it's either Tata or Hyundai. They have reached that level. And Hanji? They are beating Hyundai at the moment. They are i20 is overpriced anyways, but it still sells a lot. They're able to price it properly. Another thing that you'll see with Tata is the counter-offensive. They've identified a new market, which is what? Which is the one market segment which they dominate in India right now. EVs. EVs. They just dominate it like anything.
More than 80% share they have.
Almost all of the market is almost every electric car you see is Tata. Some variant. एक वो रेनॉल्ट की एक कार आती है विच इज एन इलेक्ट्रिक कार महिंद्रा रेनॉल्ट वाली जो एक आती है दैट्स ऑल वेरिटो इलेक्ट्रिक आती है उसके अलावा मैंने कोई इलेक्ट्रिक नहीं देखी है इंडिया में टाटा ही है हर जगह टाटा 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 बट आई एम जस्ट वेटिंग फॉर मारुति टू कम विद द वैगन आर इलेक्ट्रिक एंड देन वील सी अनदर काउंटर ऑफेंसिव
Mahindra is also coming with their XUV 400.
काउंटर ऑफेंसिव एवरीबडी इज ट्राइंग टू जस्ट थिंक ऑफ इट लाइक वो अगर आपने वो देखे ना किंग कॉन्ग two giants fighting with each other ये वो वाला हाल है and I'm waiting to watch that because as a customer I want the giants to fight because I get more demand I get better quality products I benefit so I want them to fight right so this is how we are growing then we also have to look at we need to grow now with growing there are two problems there are two things which we need to keep in mind okay just keep these wallet share parts in mind I'm just erasing them how to grow. So let's look at the how part. Okay? I'll just give you an example for this, a fascinating example, a loose brakes. Then we have objectives, solid positioning, innovation. Okay, then we look at the how, then you have yeah, हाँ जी sir. अच्छा इनको पास कर दो बच्चों, ये पास ही कर दो प्लीज. Okay, so I've given you the points, jotted them down. Now I need examples. So, but in order for this to work, I have to give you the loose bricks wala story. Okay, so this is a very fascinating example. थोड़ा सा 2 minutes सुनना. I'll give a little bit of a story. Okay, so in the 1960s, early 1970s, Japanese companies were what Chinese companies are today. Low cost, low value products, the way Chinese companies are dominating many market domains. 1970s, the Japanese guys were doing it. And I'm looking at the example of the Japanese TV industry. So I'm not sure you even heard of those brands. They were very old. They came to India. Sansui, Sony, Panasonic, Sharp, they were older brands which came to the market, and these are 1980s, 1990s, but then they were killed off by LG and Samsung because they know how to market themselves very well. Whether they have got a good product or not is a debatable issue, but they are great marketeers, that's a fact, right? So in the 1970s, Japanese companies started exporting TVs to Europe. So there was this French company called Thomson. I don't know whether you've heard of it. It is one of Europe's most dominant consumer electronics companies, especially in the TVs business. Thomson, right? So typically what happens when companies like this are under stress, what they typically do, they went and complained to their government. कि भाई देखो, there are these Japanese guys who are dumping TVs at very cheap prices. Help protect my market. Protectionism एक concept है. I don't know if you've heard of it, but when you go to corporate strategy वाला जब आपका paper आएगा, protectionism will be a major concept in it. It's basically like trade duties, anti, जैसे हम लोग नहीं लगा रहे इस टाइम पे, India is putting anti-dumping duties or trade duties or tariffs on Chinese products. It's the same story. So European companies put tariffs and they said that if Japanese companies sell a TV greater than 21 inches, they have to pay an extra tax. ठीक है, अब इन्होंने क्या गलती की इसमें? Where did they go wrong in this protectionist method? Capping. So what the Japanese company did, they started selling 14-inch TVs. There was this entire market for small portable TVs, car TVs. These guys pioneered that market and they ended up dominating it. And as a result, because their brand started becoming popular in the minds of the customers, they were willing to pay a price premium, जो वो tariff था. They were willing to pay the tariff for the fact that it was a quality Japanese product. So loose bricks here means that when I am in a market, when I am growing, how to grow is identify places which my competitors do not serve. The place here is the product market combination which they do not serve. And if I can get a product which captures that position, then I have built up a product for myself. Can you give me an example of something similar which you could have encountered?
उसने क्या कहता है, ब्रेड सेगमेंट को पूरा कैप्चर कर लिया है इंडिया के, जो कहते हैं वेरिएबल हेडसेट्स और उसका.
Boat is a very good example. Boat को copy कर रहा है noise, trying to follow and copy on that product. Boat is a very good example of a company which identified that Sony and other players are just sticking to the top end. But there is a huge demand at the lower end of the market as well. And if I can get a reasonably good quality product and at a reasonable price, मेरा customer खरीद लेगा. 1200-1300 में आराम से आपको वो वायरलेस ईयरबड्स मिल जाएंगे. और क्या चाहिए आपको उसमें? एयरपॉड्स थोड़ी चाहिए सबको. यू डोंट वांट दैट आल्सो. देखो, आपका 1000-1200 का है, दो साल चल गया, और क्या चाहिए आपको उससे ज्यादा? यू डोंट एक्सपेक्ट मोर ना, बिकॉज यू डोंट पे मोर. आपकी एक वो एक्सपेक्टेशन ही सेट है कि वो 1-1.5 साल चलेगा. अब Xiaomi का फोन है, दो साल चलेगा, उसके बाद इट विल डाई आउट. इधर आप उससे पक जाओगे, कुछ ना कुछ उसमें खराब हो जाएगा, या वो जेन्युइनली, माय वाइफ हैड अ Xiaomi फोन, उसका मदरबोर्ड जल गया अपने आप, जस्ट एक्सप्लोडेड, और वो बूट लूप पे चला गया. सो इट स्विचेस ऑन, रीबूट्स, स्विचेस ऑफ, रीबूट्स, वो बूट लूप में चला गया. तो ठीक है, डंप कर दिया, अब क्या करें. बट मेरे को इतना दुख नहीं आया कि इट वॉज 16,000 bucks. ठीक है, 1.5 साल चल गया, बहुत, थ्रो इट. That is my expectation. I don't expect it to be a long-lasting product. Are you getting my point? So वहाँ पे loose bricks, boat is a very good example of loose bricks. ठीक है? Then we define objectives. So I don't know if you've heard of this company. Have you heard of this company by any chance? Komatsu. क्या बनाते हैं? If those of you heard of it, हाँ जी? नहीं, please don't mix them. Komatsu is a Japanese company which is the world's second largest manufacturer of heavy industrial equipment. आपके diggers, mining equipment, bulldozers. JCB का बड़ा भाई. Think of it that way. You've seen JCB products in India. JCB Eicher का बड़ा भाई. Think of it that way. And their rival was an American company, is an American company called Caterpillar. I don't know if you heard of it. It is the world's largest manufacturer of heavy industrial equipment. Komatsu is a close second. So when Komatsu was growing in the 1960s, उनके लिए ये था हमें Caterpillar को beat करना है. That was their strategic objective. And in order to achieve it, they did better marketing, they did better product design, they did better product development, they improved their quality, blah, blah, blah. They did hundreds of things in order to maintain their objective, which was to achieve a specific market positioning. और ये आपको companies, when new companies enter new markets, जैसे AirAsia came to India, yeah, G is in their respective businesses. G has a very fixed criteria. Either I'm number one or number two, or I exit. GE, General Electric जो company है, they have a very clear strategic objective. They are into hundreds of businesses. But in whichever business they are, उनका objective है, in that particular market, in that product market combination, we have to be either number one or number two. Otherwise, we will exit the market. क्योंकि उनको लगता there's no value. It takes more time. They want profits. Right? That's all right. Then you have a proper positioning in the mind of your customer, and Maggi is a good example for that. I don't know आप लोगों ने कभी, those of you who've tried, see, I am a Maggi loyalist. ठीक है ना? I cannot hear anything bad about Maggi. It is the most perfect food on the planet. ठीक है ना? According to me, it's the most perfect food on the planet. I can have it for breakfast, lunch, dinner. Right? Fine. I can't say that to my wife, obviously, because she has more healthier options. But मेरे लिए Maggi ठीक है बिल्कुल. Right? Which is where positioning comes. And Maggi के case में क्या है? I don't know if you remember, for few years back, Maggi had this whole controversy where they were banned for about 8-9 months. And that ban meant that Patanjali and Yippee were literally on the rooftop shouting, yes, now we can get the market. And they tried everything. उन्होंने बहुत marketing की, उन्होंने बहुत अपने products बेचने की कोशिश की. Sunfeast came out with Tricolor, Maggi, they tried so many things. In that 8-9 month period, उनकी जो sales बढ़ी. The moment Maggi came back, we were like, how many of you, those of you tried Sunfeast and other brands? I never did. मैं मैगी है तो है, नहीं है तो मैं नहीं खाऊंगा instant noodles.
एक चीज और भी है कि अगर आप सनफीस्ट भी लेने जा रहे हो, पतंजलि भी लेने जा रहे हो, तो लोग कहते हैं मैगी दे दो. और पतंजलि के नाम पे भी कोई लाइक जैसे हेल्दी का एग्जांपल है इन टर्म्स ऑफ जैसे मैगी भी स्टार्ट हैमरिंग और स्वलिंग
हेल्दी है.
तो लोग और बहुत सारे ब्रांड्स हैं, लेकिन अगर जैसे कोई परचेजर बोलता है तो बोलता है हेल्दी ला के दे. उसके लिए हैमरिंग मशीन हेल्दी है.
हेल्दी. और एक चीज और है with this, I saw it, I've seen this example. I was in a store. दो बच्चे आए होंगे, like 14-15-year-old kids who came and they were like, भैया वो पतंजलि वाला मैगी दे दो. So it is if I was a Patanjali marketing manager and I heard that, मैं literally एक कैप में पानी लेता, उसमें डूब जाता मैं. Genuinely, because after all my efforts, people still say Patanjali wala Maggi. It's the biggest insult to me as a marketing guy. But that's reality. Why? Because जो Maggi की positioning है, वो it is rock solid.
Also, so Maggi is selling at about 14 rupees per cake. The other brands are selling it for like 10 rupees per cake. काफी बिक रहा है.
Maggi की positioning है ना, it is rock solid. चाहे उसमें आप अडल्ट्रेशन का उसको केस कर दो, चाहे आप उसको प्राइसिंग के लिए कह दो, चाहे आप उसको क्वालिटी के लिए कह दो, साइज के लिए कह दो, टेस्ट के लिए, जो मर्जी कह लो. The positioning that Maggi enjoys is bulletproof. That is the ultimate aim of a marketing guy. Those of you who plan to be marketers in the future, जो भी आपका प्रोडक्ट है, उसकी ऐसी पोजिशनिंग करो कि उसको कोई उतार ना सके. You become the generic product. ऐसे अब आप लोग कहते हो, I don't know you guys do it or not. जब भी whenever you go to get a photocopy, what do you say? भैया एक Xerox निकाल देना. And I can bet on it, भैया जो Xerox निकाल रहा है वो Canon की मशीन पे निकाल रहा है. I can bet on it. Because Xerox lost that positioning. So even if you have a bulletproof position, you can still lose. So please, ये मत सोचना that I have a bulletproof positioning, okay, my job is done, I can put my feet up and go to sleep. No. Xerox is the best example for you. Don't do that. वो brand name तो रह गया, लेकिन Canon सारा business लेके भाग गया. So don't be that. So positioning, solid positioning can also be a detriment. So don't ever fall in that trap. ठीक है? Then you innovate. Innovation में एक example दे दो मुझे. The company which makes post-its. कौन सी company है? 3M. Heard of this company? You will find it in everything from automotive paint to medical equipment to post-it notes. हर जगह है. Because 3M. Because their business objective is innovation. और 3M का एक ये रूल होता था, आजकल है कि नहीं पता नहीं, but early 2000s they had this corporate policy कि every year whatever profits we make, 25% have to come from a product which didn't exist in the previous financial year. So imagine the company which is replacing a quarter of their products every year, they are coming out with 25% new products. Imagine how much they can capture the market and dominate the market.
पॉलिसीज भी तो इस तरीके से ही है ना सर कि ये आपको इतना टाइम इनोवेशन में निकालना है उनके एम्प्लॉयज के साथ भी ये
तभी तो they are successful ना, तभी तो they are successful. Unless you invest, you can't get an output. You can't harvest. Unless you sow, you can't harvest. ये वो वाला हाल है. ठीक है. Another example would be in today's world, you will see a similar brand, DOMS, हर जगह है. जहाँ पे आपने स्टेशनरी की बात की, DOMS is everywhere. Every product they have. कुछ एक ग्लिटर वाला पेन चाहिए तो है, आपको चौक वाले चाहिए तो है, आपको क्रेयॉन्स चाहिए तो है. Anything DOMS is DOMS. And another advantage with DOMS is because it is so successful, DOMS का black होता है आजकल. Because it is so successful, DOMS products are in short supply. Jubilant वो Domino's वाला.
सर वो डंकिन डोनट्स की जुबिलेंट है और वो भी जुबिलेंट है उसके पास वो बड़ी डिफरेंट और
Jubilant is again, they are again dominating the market by having different products. Positioning कह लो उसको, या आप उसको wallet share कह लो. It depends on how you want to put it. Google also lots of innovation. They've made their business in acquiring companies. वो खुद नहीं innovate करते. They acquire.
But within Google also they have teams, the projects that we usually call them. Projects means innovation. A person is leading team of innovators, and his role is just to innovate something by the end of the year or quarter.
So any innovation doesn't have to be big bang. It can be very small innovation. Just making Gmail look better is also innovation. Just making it look better on a mobile device is again an innovation. कुछ तो कर रहे हैं. It's an innovation in, it's a limited innovation. Upgrade से क्या मतलब है आपका? Upgrade is
अगर हम उसका UI better कर रहे हैं, pleasing the customer is to एक का
upgrade and innovation, they will merge together ना. So you are innovating in the UI. It doesn't have to mean a brand new product. You can improve an existing product. That also is innovation.
To do things in a better way.
Do it in a better way. Do it in a more cost-efficient way.
then we, in this case then we cannot distinguish between
No, no. Unfortunately, no. Many terms will converge. Then they will have multiple meanings. Unfortunately, you are right. Innovation and upgradation यहाँ पे same है. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. As long as you can justify yourself, these mixes don't matter. Don't worry.
Sir, for Salesforce for launching the CRM system.
हाँ, Salesforce का CRM है, SAP का system है आपका. These are also there. Then you have this one. CVP. याद है CVP करा था आप लोगों ने पहले? Segmentation में करा होगा. CVP. Customer Value Proposition. Did you do that topic? CVP नहीं करा आपने अभी तक, हो ही नहीं सकता. CVP would have been in the first 2-3 units. हो ही नहीं सकता CVP पहले ना हो. Maybe नहीं याद होगा. No issues. CVP is basically the value position that you are adapting or adopting in the mind of your customer. So customer value proposition. Can I make a product which meets the customer's requirements in a better way? It offers more value. One good example for that is Amul. Amul has a very good value proposition in the minds of the customers. So they'll have lots of products. They'll typically tend to be a little bit cheaper than their competitors. Not always, but in many circumstances, especially when it comes to ice creams, they're a little bit cheaper. Chocolates, they are a little bit cheaper.
but then again Amul has again different segments for their chocolates like they rebranded themselves again,
They had to. They had to.
so that's not cheaper I guess.
No, they're comparable to an alternate. So if you take, for example, you take a Ghana a Ghana roast single origin chocolate, which is 160 bucks. It has more volume than a comparable silk, which is just a normal sugary Cadbury's. कोई uniqueness नहीं है. जब आप when you go for unique chocolates, Tanzania roast है, उनका Kenya है, उनका Ghana है. These ones, the cheapest that you would get is about 250 bucks. So वहाँ पे उनका value proposition better है. That's where the value proposition part comes in. In the minds of the customer, am I cost effective? Now, an Apple product is also cost effective product in the mind of the customer. ठीक है, 50,000 में तो है, iPhone है. That's value. That's value. A customer is willing to pay for it. Now, if you look at in the laptop segment, phones छोड़ दो, for 1 minute leave phones aside. If you look at a laptop segment, MacBook is what, 90 bucks, 90K? You take your student card with you, it becomes 83K, 81K हो जाता है, 10% का डिस्काउंट है. 81 में you get a MacBook versus a Dell, which is about 75, 76. I would call myself stupid अगर मैं Dell खरीद लूँ तो. It gives you better value. So my wife is a Dell loyalist. She loves that. Perfect, her choice. I hate Windows. My choice. So अगर मेरे को Windows नहीं पसंद, what is my alternate? Apple. MacBook मुझे 82, 83 में मिल जाए. I think it has good CVP. Though you may say Apple है, Apple is always premium. No, doesn't mean that. CVP doesn't mean premium or it's cheap. It means that am I matching with the value that the customer is expecting and willing to pay. So expectation and willingness to pay merge together to create better value, a better value proposition, which is where the term CVP comes in, customer value proposition. हाँ जी? To an extent, yes. So जो होता है ना हमारे एक माइंड में होता है ना, is it worth it? The moment we say yes, then it has a good CVP. ठीक है ना? Then you leapfrog competition. Google is a good example here. Google is a good example. They always keep coming out with new and new products. Before anybody catches up, they already have a product there and they moved up the scale. So they are leapfrogging their competition through acquisitions perhaps. That's all right. Grow to kar rahe hai na. Then diversify. Can you give me an example of a company which is diversified successfully? मैं आपको एक थोड़ा सा और सिंपल एग्जांपल देता हूँ उससे. आईटीसी ले लो ना. Easy Indian example of diversification. From tobacco and hotels to toffee and stationery and food, Sunfeast. They've done it. And again, ध्यान से देखना उनका, which was their first diversification after cigarettes? Which was the first product ITC launched after cigarettes when they wanted to diversify? Cigarettes and hotels था. Hotels छोड़ा सा था. Which was the first product they came out with after cigarettes? FMCG है, but FMCG तो huge segment है ना. Narrow it down. Think. None? Given up? No, not stationery. It's a product you all have had. Candyman. Candyman क्या है? Toffees. How does it link to cigarettes? ध्यान से सोचना कभी. Yes, mouth freshener, precisely. So when you diversify, you don't do something out of the world. ITC wanted, they could have diversified into anything. Why did they choose cigarette? Why did they choose toffees? Because they could leverage their existing distribution network. The same panwala will now sell cigarettes and toffee. और वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? Again, look at it, wallet share. आपके पास पहले ITC का सिगरेट है और रिगलीज की च्युइंगम है. वॉलेट शेयर तो कम हो गया ना. अब आपके पास आईटीसी का ही सिगरेट है और आईटीसी की च्युइंगम है या टॉफी है. इंक्रीजिंग माय वॉलेट शेयर. सिगरेट स्मोकिंग एंड ऑल मैं वहां नहीं जा रहा. अभी आई एम नॉट मेकिंग एनी एथिकल जजमेंट्स एट ऑल. आई एम मेकिंग मार्केटिंग जजमेंट्स. दे वर स्मार्ट. और उससे क्या हुआ? द मोमेंट दे स्टार्टेड एंटरिंग एफएमसीजी विद कैंडी, दे हैड अ सपोर्ट ऑफ देयर cigarettes business. They were not thrown in the deep end of the pool without having any support. At least by the time they acquired it, they were able to know what the FMCG market. और उसके बाद उनका आशीर्वाद आया, classmate आया, then they moved on. They've understood the market. FMCG में चाहिए क्या हमें? They've understood it, and then that's how they've grown. Then challenges, cost of new customer acquisition is always a challenge. Can you give me an example of a company which failed as a result of this? Nokia का customer acquisition challenge नहीं था. Nokia का challenge था ये. They stopped innovating. वो वहाँ पे आएगा जब हमने एग्जाम्पल लिया ना विड्रॉल का. Ford left India because they realized हमारा नहीं चल रहा काम. GM was the same story. They realized कि we'll expend more money than what we'll get returns. Exit. Withdrawal, a strategic withdrawal is also important. Don't keep selling the same product. नहीं customer खरीद रहा है, कितना push करोगे उसको? Windows, no, उनका ज़्यादा cost नहीं था उसमें. कौन सी? Airlines. Airtel, yes. आपके telecom companies हैं. I could give you a very good example for this. Kingfisher Airlines. They started saying that will offer Jet Airways level of quality or Air Deccan level of pricing. कहाँ से चलेगा? Where will it work? And you can see the results in front of you. ठीक है ना? You stretch too much. Another example is for this is Tata acquiring a European steel maker called Chorus, जो आज की डेट में उनके लिए जिसे हम लोग हिंदी में कहते हैं गले का फंदा बना हुआ है. It is bleeding money. The UK government is not letting them sell it off for political reasons. चल उनसे रहा है नहीं. It's complete chaos for them. Tata Chorus is a complete chaos. On the other hand, Tata and Jaguar is a marriage made in heaven. They are doing very well together. So it depends on specific combinations. And the problem with Tata Chorus deal was, Tata Chorus happened in 2007. Jaguar happened in 2008. उस एक साल में पूरी दुनिया बदल गई. Because of the subprime crisis, 2007 share market was booming. So Chorus के लिए Tata paid a price premium. 6 months later, the entire European housing market collapsed. Who will buy steel anymore? It collapsed. But when they bought JLR in 2008, they got it at a discount. So वहाँ पे they got a better deal. As a result, वो deal उनके लिए economically feasible रहा. And they were able to make it run better. Whereas Tata Chorus is just too much of stretch. Any company which takes, अभी आप अदानी ले लो. At the moment, अदानी आप हिंडनबर्ग को छोड़ दो अभी को. Ignore the political background with the whole Hindenburg story. पहले तो मेरे को वही नहीं लगता. It is itself a short seller. So it has its duty is to scare the market so that people sell or they can price money, they can make profit out of it. ठीक है ना? वो एक point को छोड़ दो. But if I look at Adani as a company, their growth is primarily coming from debt. किसी lender ने अगर debt recall कर लिया, तो it will end up collapsing like a pack of cards. That is the problem. So too much of stretching is always a problem क्योंकि क्या होता है? Think of it like a rubber band. आप एक point तक तो उसको stretch करोगे, but then what will happen? It will not unravel. It will just snap completely. It will give you no warning. It will just simply break. So that is where the part of stretching comes in. ठीक है ना? Stretching is expansion, but the point with expansion is कि मैं बहुत ज़्यादा stretch कर रहा हूँ अपने आप को. I'm stretching myself too much. I'm expanding too fast. आप एक rubber band लो, अगर आप उसको धीरे धीरे करके stretch करोगे, it will increase its length. It will increase a little bit. But आप एक rubber band को उसको एक suddenly खींच दो, it will break. That is where the stretching part comes. Expand, do more, but don't do so much more कि आप उसको संभाल नहीं पाओगे. That is where the loan वाला part comes. And then you have questionable tactics. Give me an example. ये recent ही अभी पिछले 1-2 महीने से ये example घूम रहा है. Indian example only. हाँ जी? नहीं वो तो बहुत पुरानी ad है. वो तो बहुत पुरानी ad है. And I found that, and that was the most humorous one. Suddenly somebody comes and sticks a mic into your face and says कि आपके टूथपेस्ट में नमक है. I used to like that ad a lot. It was very funny. But give me an example of a company with questionable tactics in India. Marketing वाली. I'm sure you as अभी आप लोग थोड़े से वो actually undergraduates नहीं हो ना. You would have experienced their products otherwise. Which company am I talking about? हाँ जी, हिंट दूँ? Hint देते हैं, it's a company whose representatives have pestered me when I go with my small child. उनको मैं दिखता हूँ कस्टमर, हर जगह मॉल हो, शॉपिंग मॉल हो, रेलवे स्टेशन हो, वो अपना ब्रोशर लेके आ जाएंगे. Which company am I talking about? Byju's. Questionable tactics. Byju's is a good example of that. So don't grow so much that you become notorious. There's a difference between that. Notoriety. Patanjali, on the other hand, grew very fast, but they've not gone down the road of being notorious. They haven't been in the news for underhanded tactics or techniques or anything. They've grown responsibly. Byju's, on the other hand, has been in the news for all the wrong reasons, which is not a good place to be. Then we are distracted. Nokia is a good example. We've already covered it. We become weaker. We don't innovate enough. We lose momentum. We lose growth. Customers, competitors can dominate us. Then decreasing quality. This is a very good example. So in the 1990s, which was the one brand which would be known all over the world for product quality? It was Mercedes. ठीक है ना, Mercedes cars were bulletproof, literally bulletproof. ठीक है, then in early 2000, this is, ये बात होगी 98 की. 98 में Mercedes decided, Daimler, the parent company, decided to have a merger with an American company called Chrysler, the parent of the Jeep brand, जो इंडिया में Jeep करके अभी आता है, but now it's a Fiat Chrysler Auto, so वो Fiat की कार है in that sense. So while they were doing that merger, somebody told them, yeah, Mercedes has very high quality, but you are not charging enough. So some wise person at Mercedes realized, I don't know what they had in the morning, whether it was coffee or something strong, they suddenly realized, let's decrease our product quality. Let's not make it as reliable as we can make it. Let's reduce our quality. हमारे कस्टमर को उतना ही पैसा मिल रहा है, वी आर अर्निंग मोर प्रॉफिट क्योंकि हम कम क्वालिटी दे रहे हैं. कॉस्ट कम हो जाएगा, हमारा प्रॉफिट मार्जिन बढ़ जाएगा. बट व्हाट इज रॉन्ग इन दिस? You lose customer. Accidents की बात नहीं, they were hit by lots of defects, and a Mercedes is not a product where you want defects. उनकी value proposition खत्म होगी. Perfect. And in that 2000 to 2008, Audi and BMW zoomed ahead. When a Mercedes dominate करता थे performance luxury car market, but because they had quality problems, Audi and BMW, their competitors, Audi zoomed ahead like anything. सारे जितने Mercedes के customers गए वो सब Audi में चले गए. It's the same thing that you would have seen in India, in Delhi a couple of years back, when McDonald's का भी एक dispute चल रहा था. Who won out of the dispute? Burger King. Competitors ना. McDonald's के stores बंद होते गए, Burger King के खुलते गए. So as a customer आप कहाँ गए? आप Burger King चले गए. Now whether you come back to McDonald's or not is a debatable question क्योंकि McDonald's Maggi नहीं है. There isn't enough brand loyalty. ठीक है ना? So all of these are problems with marketing वाला growth. ठीक है? Let's move on to the next topic. अब ये वाला हम इसमें we can do this. हाँ ठीक है. Again sticking to growth, just last part of growth, then we'll move on to the next part is three strategies. Leader, follower, nicher. Now, can you give me an example of a company with a leader strategy where they are market leaders? Anybody? Market leaders. Maruti Suzuki. Tesla is not a market leader. It's an innovator, but right now it's not a market leader. In EV vehicles also, it's not a leader in terms of volume. अभी नहीं है, अभी वो छोटा है. ठीक है, it's better than many other companies. It's bigger than Volvo, for example. But it still has a long way to go if it wants to challenge Mercedes, BMW, Ford, Chrysler, General Motors. ये वाले बहुत बड़े हैं उसके लिए. Tesla is too small right now. They are innovators. They are excellent innovators. So you may call them a market leader in terms of innovation, but not in terms of sales.
Market leader, Tata Salt.
Tata Salt could be there. Nirma could be a good example. हाँ जी. Amazon, HUL. There again, leaders, and they've retained their leadership. Reliance in petrochemicals, Reliance Jio, Amul, they're all market leaders. ठीक है, फिर एक आता है follower. Now who is a follower? हाँ जी, वो follower in the sense क्या होता है? Let me give the example of a follower, right? Before so that concept becomes clear. So a leader strategy is where I am an innovator. मैं नया प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर रहा हूँ और मैं उस मार्केट को कंट्रोल कर रहा हूँ. दैट इज माई लीडरशिप स्ट्रैटेजी. वन एग्जाम्पल फॉर दैट इज लेट्स टेक आईफोन. When Apple launched the iPhone, nobody had created a device like the iPhone. उसमें कोई यूनिकनेस नहीं थी. Smartphones existed before Apple. Touchscreen phones existed before Apple. Metal body phones existed before Apple. Apple ने करा क्या? Apple ने उनको unite कर दिया. And by uniting them, they created a unique product, which was a market leader. And every smartphone which comes after the iPhone tends to copy that same design language. And another good example would be, which is a company which is also called the Apple of China, Xiaomi. Apple came out with AirPods. Within 6 months, Xiaomi came out with the Buds. क्योंकि problem क्या है जो हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे, it is not a unique product. It was just somebody had to just take the guts to launch it, and उसके बाद the follower typically tends to imitate. एक होता है the leader is, just give me 1 second, एक point बस I'll just finish that. Leader is the first mover advantage, and there is this thing called the second mover advantage. The follower is always following the second mover advantage. Abhi I'll just explain. Hanji, you had something to say? Samsung is both. And Samsung is an example of a unique company where they can sell you an 1100 rupee phone and a 1.5 lakh rupee phone with the same brand name. It is very rare. There are companies which straddle product categories, but they do it by having unique brands. Maruti ले लो. Why did Maruti have to come up with Nexa? Why did it have to come up with it? क्योंकि कोई मारुति के लिए प्रीमियम प्राइस देने को तैयार नहीं था. Maruti was Wagon R, सस्ता सुंदर टिकाऊ. Nobody wanted to pay extra for a Maruti. But with Nexa, they improved the quality, and they were like, people were like, okay, we can buy Nexa now. They've improved the quality. Toyota, when Toyota wanted to move up the value chain, they had to create Lexus. Because nobody was buying their parent brand. इतना बुरा हाल था उसका. People were buying it for that low cost, low price, economical CVP. But the moment you want to go up the chain, they had to come up with a new brand. But Samsung के केस से क्या है वो, they can fight with Xiaomi at the 12,000, 14,000 rupee range. They can fight with Apple at the 50, 60,000 range. And they can also be innovators with the folding phone. वो तीनों हैं, वो दोनों हैं, वो लीडर भी है, फॉलोअर भी है, एंड नीशर भी है. सैमसंग तीनों है. Very rare. You'll rarely find companies who are able to do this successfully. Flirt with all three categories. And Nisha, I can give you one example. This is one of very famous brands, Sriracha. I don't know if you've heard of it. It is one of the US's best-selling sauces, spicy sauce. But it's a niche player. It doesn't fight with Heinz or Kisan for that matter. It's a very niche player. But in its market, it's niche. It dominates its market. Spicy sauce, Sriracha. No, nobody else does it better than them. But they are not a mass market player. Niche. Niche क्या होता है? One place which is easily defensible, doesn't have to be very big in size, but whatever market I have, I can defend it and I can dominate it. एक इसका, I'll give you an analogy for this. Big fish, small pond. या small fish, big pond. Which is better? Big fish in a small pond. क्योंकि जो भी food है वो आप dominate करो, आप big हो. That's the niche strategy. So you choose. HUL chooses to be a small fish in a big pond. FMCG market, one company, but they want to fight in that. Sriracha chooses to be a big fish in a small pond. एक आप वो ले लो, इसका एक और, if you want a tech example, go with NVIDIA. NVIDIA. Graphic cards. कोई नहीं बनाता उनसे अच्छे. और कौन सा? NVIDIA और दो है शायद. AMD तो चिप्स भी है ना. NVIDIA के साथ और कौन सी है? GeForce. NVIDIA का है वो GeForce. एक और ब्रांड है. There are two companies which are into Radeon, हाँ. Radeon is AMD. Acha, I didn't know that. So Radeon and GeForce, two brands, they dominate that graphics card market. But how, unless you are a serious gamer, आप लोगों के devices में graphic card नहीं होगा. Unless you are serious about it, you don't have a graphics card. So for me, I never need a graphics card. मेरे लिए एक normal, so मेरे लिए Apple चल जाता है, क्योंकि Apple में graphics card नहीं होता. That's the problem. But so that's a niche. Nobody does better than Nvidia Radeon. But they don't fight with Intel. Intel भी उनसे fight नहीं करता, क्योंकि Intel के पास वो capabilities नहीं है, और Radeon और GeForce के पास वो desire नहीं है to become the next Intel. Niche. You stick with it. You don't do anything. You just stick with that position and you stay with it. But that is where the niche strategy comes in, right? Okay. Then another way of growth is, one last point which we'll do is, I give you one example, you guys can study it whenever you get the chance. नहीं, JVC नहीं. JVC versus Sony, or comparable is VHS versus Betamax. Another example would be have you heard of these brands or products before? VHS, JVC, Sony, Betamax, DVD, Blu-ray तो सुना होगा. DVD, Blu-ray तो आप लोगों की relevance point है. हाँ जी? All of them except Betamax. Betamax was the Blu-ray of its world. In the sense of, this is the VCR market. I don't know, आप लोगों ने, the younger lot would not have even used a VCR. हम लोग थोड़े से वो बच्चे वाले हैं जो VCR वाले थे. घर पे होगा आपके, you must be having it in the attic somewhere. Dig it out. It was a player this big a cassette, and it had 70 minutes of movie. Today, we don't even have, our laptops don't have DVD players because everything is done by streaming. This is like, if I look at it from a history point of view, this would be Mughal के ज़माने का है. इतना पुराना होगा in terms of technology history. It's that old. So VHS was a format the way MP3 is a format. It was a type of format, and Betamax was another type of format. So VHS was run by a company called JVC, and Betamax was Sony, the same way Blu-ray was Sony. But in Sony's case, in both these situations, both of these products didn't become mass market because they were very expensive. And they were not able to go down the road of the volume part, because JVC, this was a company run by a it was a Japanese company called Matsushita. I don't know if you've ever heard of that name. Matsushita was a rival to Sony in consumer electronics in the 1970s. That's the time when this fight starts. And what JVC did was, JVC was the Android of its age. What JVC did was, to improve their market dominance, they licensed their product. So you could build a JVC VCR player and a VHS cassette and sell it at a cheaper price. And by doing that, they were able to completely dominate the market versus Sony. Okay? And another thing, the fun part of this, so you can study it, Wikipedia pe jana, there is this thing called a video format war. And the video format war was between VHS and Betamax. इतना important था कि इसका Wikipedia article है पूरा इसके बारे में. So it was a very big deal. And there was one industry, one part of the entertainment industry which supported VHS. Yes, and you can say it out loud, there's nothing wrong in it. That the answer is correct. Who made JVC, who made VHS successful? हाँ जी? हाँ तो वही adult movie industry, American Pie वाली industry. Pay-per-view, they pioneered pay-per-view. Nothing wrong in it. Look at it, ignore the ethical part right now. Right now, just ignore the ethics. Ignore the ethics, stick to the marketing part. They were innovators. Why? Because they were desperate. If they don't become innovators, then they lose the market completely. They're desperate. And in this case, desperation leads to brilliance. VHS, videos, then pay-per-view, online streaming, VPNs, virtual private networks, they were the ones who succeed very well in these kind of scenarios. Ignore the ethics, Abhi. Ethics is a separate story altogether. Playboy. And if you guys, those of you who like, कोई है जिसको वो अच्छी लगती है जेम्स बॉन्ड की नॉवेल्स. जेम्स बॉन्ड मूवी तो देखी होंगी बहुत लोगों ने, बट जेम्स बॉन्ड की एक नॉवेल्स होती थी. कुछ कहना मेरे को अच्छी लगती हैं, ठीक है ना, नो कमेंट्स, राइट. सो जेम्स बॉन्ड, आफ्टर इयन फ्लेमिंग डाइड, the brand lost momentum, and one of the people who revived it was Playboy magazine. They started hiring authors to create with the James Bond के characters खरीद लिए उन्होंने. So they earned the right, they bought the right to that character, and then they had other authors build the stories around James Bond. So licensing कह लो इसको, आप इसको survival कह लो, जो मर्जी कह लो. But that is the fun part of marketing, is these unique innovations which companies come up with so that they can grow and succeed. ठीक है ना? So this is fine. Now we have, let's move on to product life cycle now. ठीक है? Okay, so अब हम product की बात कर रहे हैं. Now you guys need to tell me examples of products. Okay? Okay, so I'll write down a few names. I want you guys to tell me. Okay, types. Okay, so what is a product? A product is something which we are buying. So we are talking about product development. Okay, so a product is something which is fulfilling the needs of the customer, and it is there. So there are these few categories of products which we want to call it. Before we get into this, I'll just give you an example of a product. So in this case, we have need. So we begin with needs, product need. So the need is, say for example, the need for mobility. So that need for mobility can be fulfilled by a bullock cart also, can be fulfilled by an aircraft also. Mobility needs. Then comes the product family. Product family is, say for example, Mercedes-Benz cars. Product family है, Mercedes के cars. Then there's a product class. Product class is SUVs. Then in SUVs, you have a product line, luxury SUVs. Then you have product types, M class, G class, and you have a specific product which is ML350. This is how the world of products. So these words, product line, product class, product type, will be words that you will keep hearing when we talk of products. So now there are these certain categories. Now can you give me examples? I'll give you one example to get it started. Colgate, staple, toothpaste. Everybody needs toothpaste, right? Depending on how many times you brush your teeth. Personal choice, I'm not getting into it. Whether you brush or not is also personal choice. I have nothing to say against it. But if you don't brush, then please, little bit of distance is advisable, right? Apart from that, that's a staple product. Atta, dal, chawal, toothpaste, soap. These are staples. अब staples की category में problem क्या होती है? Staples का advantage is everybody wants them. What is the disadvantage? Everybody wants to sell to them. So there is high competition. In staples, there is very high competition. And अगर ज़्यादा हाई कॉम्पिटिशन होगा तो मार्केटिंग में क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है, मार्जिन्स बिकम थिन एंड मार्केटिंग एफर्ट्स बिकम इम्पॉर्टेंट. सो कोलगेट ले लो. अब जिंदगी भर हमें कोलगेट नहीं बोला है 2 शेल लो, एक पे ब्रश मत करो तो वो टूट टूट जाता है. हाउ डज इट ट्रांसलेट इनटू हेल्थ, नथिंग. बट वो लोग क्या करते हैं, उनका रोज नया चेंज होता रहता है. पहले दे वाज स्ट्रॉन्ग टीथ, फिर आया कैल्शियम, फिर आज की डेट में है कि इफ यू हैव गुड टीथ यू बिकम हेल्दी बिकॉज यू आर एबल टू चू योर फूड बेटर. I don't know how that logic is there, but again it's marketing. And what are they doing? Scare marketing. एक और जो सबसे बड़ा ब्रांड करता है फॉर मी एज अ पेरेंट, मुझे अब दिखता है ज़्यादा, एक ब्रांड तो यहीं पे लिस्ट में, विल कम टू दैट, और एक है आपका ये बॉर्नवीटा कॉम्प्लान, दिस होल गैंग ऑफ हेल्थ बेस्ड बेवरेजेस. इसको पीते बच्चे एकदम से ना वो मूवी की तरह बड़े हो जाते हैं, कोई नहीं, कुछ नहीं फर्क पड़ता है. बट एज अ पेरेंट वी लाइक चल यार मैं क्यों छोड़ू, चल पी ले भाई. यू गेटिंग माई पॉइंट. यू डोंट वांट टू लूज इवन दैट लिटिल बिट ऑफ सपोर्ट दैट यू कैन गिव टू योर चाइल्ड, चाहे उससे कुछ फर्क पड़े ना पड़े, यू डोंट नो. लाइक दैट इज स्केयर मार्केटिंग ना. एक और है दूसरा अनदर, यहाँ पे इमरजेंसी यूज में आएगा. कैन यू गिव मी अ ब्रांड विच द मोमेंट वी टॉक ऑफ इमरजेंसी यूज, एग्जाम्पल मैंने दिया पेरेंट चाइल्ड वाला, कौन सा ब्रांड आता है? डेटॉल. डेटॉल वो बाद में आएंगे, इंश्योरेंस प्रोडक्ट्स में बाद में आएंगे. अभी डेटॉल है, इमरजेंसी प्रोडक्ट है. I am sure all of you have used Dettol in your life. Dettol and Banded in differing quantities, of course, depending on how physically active you were. That's a separate story. But all of you have used Dettol, और Dettol की marketing में भी यही आता है. Dettol लगाती suddenly एक shield हो जाती है आपके ऊपर. Infection cannot touch you. It's bordering on the line of religious. Dettol लगाती, infection cannot touch you. बट दैट्स द मार्केटिंग पार्ट. और कभी भी डेटॉल की एडवर्टाइजमेंट में ध्यान से देखना, इट्स ऑलवेज द मदर एंड इट्स ऑलवेज अ नॉटी चाइल्ड. भाई क्या आई वॉन्ट माई चाइल्ड टू फॉल इल क्या एज अ पेरेंट? बट नहीं, इट्स ऑलवेज द मदर. बिकॉज वाई? हु मेजॉरिटी केसेस में हु इज usually the more concerned parent? It's usually the mother. Typically in India, the mother is the one who's usually the stay-at-home one, who is involved more with the child. We can understand the logic, but I always have this issue with the marketing part of it. But that's all right. But then again, the product is a market leader. When you think of if you get hurt, सबसे पहला product mind में आता है Dettol, फिर आता है Banded. And the fun part is Banded is no more there, Hansaplast है. But हम स्टिल उसको बैंडेड कहते हैं. राइट? सो दैट्स वेयर द मार्केट में, द प्रोडक्ट में डाई, बट इट्स नेम रिमेन्स. Xerox is another example. Product might be dead in India, but the name remains. Then you have a special. So Impulse में एक example दे दो मुझे. Whenever you go to any किराना स्टोर और सुपरमार्केट, कौन सी चीज होगी कैश काउंटर पे? Hershey's has become a very good player in that. उसके वो छोटे वाले made in India packs आते हैं आजकल, like $150 and you like impulse purchase and it's right there. Another product which you will see right there on the cash counter is Orbit chewing gum. 5 रुपए 10 रुपए. And I'm sure many of you have seen किराना stores. अच्छा 5 रुपए ने chewing gum ले जाओ, टॉफी ले जाओ, 5 रुपए की 5 स्टार दे देते हैं. Small amounts because you don't have change issues, right? Then you have specialty में best example we've already discussed is Starbucks. ठीक है ना? अब unsought में आएगा आपके वाला point which he was saying insurance products. You don't need it, but आपको हमेशा बोला जाता है you should have it. और कौन बोलता है आपको? LIC बोलता है, पैसा बाजार बोलता है, जिसको पॉलिसी बाजार बोलता है, क्योंकि they have to sell that. But the point is that insurance is always a product which you don't want to have, but when you need it, you are thankful that I have it. ये वो वाला product है. It's unsought, which is why these guys market so much. Insurance companies, that's why they market so much, because India में क्या है, as an economy, we are less insured as an economy in terms of people, and there is a huge potential for me to insure people. और सबसे बड़ा advantage क्या है? If you don't die or you don't get hurt, कंपनी के लिए तो बेनिफिट ही है ना, आपके लिए नुकसान है टेक्निकली सोचो तो. Unless you get hurt, you can't claim the insurance benefit ना. बट कंपनी के लिए एडवांटेज है, इफ यू डोंट गेट हर्ट, द प्रीमियम गोज इनटू देयर पॉकेट. दैट्स व्हाई दे आर चार्जिंग यू दोज हाई प्रीमियम्स. ठीक है ना, ये इट्स अ वेरी यूनिक सर्कमस्टेंस टू हैव. राइट, सो दैट्स वेयर द अनसॉर्ट पार्ट कम्स इन. देन यू नीड रेगुलर एफर्ट्स. हो गया इसका, आपका कह लो इसको कार सर्विस. अभी एनी ऑफ यू बॉट अ न्यू कार इन अ रीसेंट फ्यू मंथ्स और अ ईयर, 2 साल, कौन सी है? कितना मैसेज कर करके दिमाग खाते हैं सर्विस करा लो. मेरे केस से क्या, आई हैव गॉट माय कार वाज अगस्त 22. तो उसमें क्या है, मैं सर्विस करा रहा हूं, तब मैसेज आ रहा है सर सर्विस करा लो आपकी गाड़ी की. कराने के 5 दिन तक आता रहा है सर आपकी सर्विस करा लो. देन somebody must have realized, अरे यार ये सर्विस करा चुका है. somebody must have run the record updater in the software. तो जाके चुप होएगा. और एक फीडबैक दे दो. फीडबैक. और एक हुंडई के साथ सबसे बड़ा क्या है, वो हुंडई वाला आपको शोरूम वाला कॉल करेगा, सर फीडबैक कितना है, सर हुंडई से कॉल आएगी प्लीज वही फिगर कोट करना. बहुत सिर खाते हैं. सो दैट्स वेयर द पॉइंट इज. सो व्हाई? बिकॉज इफ आई टेक एनी कार मैन्युफैक्चरर, वेयर डू दे मेक मनी फ्रॉम? सर्विसिंग. सर्विसिंग. और मेरे को 1 साल से पहले सर्वे की जरूरत नहीं है, बट वो मुझे क्या धमकाते हैं, यू डोंट गेट इट सर्विस, यू विल लूज योर वारंटी. And you don't get it service from an authorized service center, you will lose your warranty. You sneeze, you will lose your warranty. You don't sneeze, you will lose your warranty. इतना बुरा हाल है इन लोगों का. But that's true. They're creating that fear in the mind of the customer. और मेरी जिस दिन वारंटी खत्म होती है, मैं अपने भैया के पास रहता हूँ, भैया गाड़ी सर्विस कर दो. Because the भैया is actually much smarter than these monkeys combined together. I've had 2 experiences, one with Hyundai, 2 with Hyundai. डोंट गेट मी स्टार्टेड ऑन Hyundai. मेरा इतना बुरा एक्सपीरियंस है. आई गॉट माई क्लच रिप्लेस्ड. मैंने Hyundai में दिया, क्लच खराब हो गया, फाइन, दैट्स ऑल राइट. एक तो 28,000 किलोमीटर ही चला, आई डोंट नो व्हाई. आई एम नॉट अ बैड ड्राइवर. आई हैव ड्रिवन अ मारुति स्विफ्ट डीजल फॉर 1.7 लाख किलोमीटर्स, ओरिजिनल क्लच. और ओरिजिनल क्लच भी मैंने बेची है गाड़ी. मेरे क्लच पे 100 रुपये नहीं लगाएंगे उस गाड़ी के 9 ईयर्स में. लॉस्ट द क्लच, नो प्रॉब्लम, फाइन. रिप्लेस कराने गए, अगेन सेम ऑथराइज सर्विस सेंटर से करवाएंगे. आई वेंट टू दी ऑथराइज सर्विस सेंटर वेयर आई गेट माई सर्विस. क्लच रिप्लेस कर दो, फाइन. दे चार्ज मी फॉर इट. प्रॉपर ट्रांजैक्शन, गाड़ी मेरे को उन्होंने रेडी करके दे दी. इडियट्स, किसी ने ध्यान नहीं दिया, जब उन्होंने क्लच रिप्लेस किया, सीएनजी की वायरिंग गियर बॉक्स के अंदर छोड़ दी उन्होंने. सो वेन एवर आई वुड हिट गियर नंबर 2, इट वोंट कनेक्ट. कॉग्स है, वो कॉग कनेक्ट नहीं होते. और उनको 3 दिन तक पता नहीं लगा कि उसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या है. अच्छा, गियर बॉक्स खराब हो गया जी, गियर की लिंकेज खराब हो गई जी, हम नया ऑर्डर कर देते हैं, 20,000 का पार्ट है, अभी आ जाएगा 4-5 दिन में, आप चेंज करवा लो. आई गेव इट टू माई मैकेनिक. उसने 10 मिनट गाड़ी चलाई, उसने मेरे से 100 रुपए लिए. उसने वो तार निकाल दी बाहर और उसको एक जिप टाई से बांध दिया. दिस इज द लेवल ऑफ सर्विस. सो आई एम नॉट नेमिंग द Hyundai डीलर, though I want to name and shame, but that's not the right forum. But the point is that when we talk of these, this is where comes customer retention. Marketing is very nice, it's very shiny. But how does the customer get retained? The dirty parts. As a company, if I focus only on marketing, dirty parts I don't focus on, I will lose customers. Because eventually हम ये part है आपके, इसमें branding में आएगा, lifetime value, lifetime experience. Total customer lifetime value. It includes things which are beyond marketing. Marketing में लगता है ना, ad निकाल दिया, target identify कर लिया, खत्म. That is not marketing's job. Marketing की job is customer retention. Please get that thing in your mind. A marketer's job is not just advertising the product. Their job is to retain the customer which you've acquired. क्योंकि if we gave the example of Kingfisher, याद है? Cost of new customer acquisition is very high, but the cost of a repeat customer is low. If, for example, that Hyundai dealer gave me good service, मैं उसी से करवाता. और उसके बाद क्या हुआ, Hyundai के साथ मेरे साथ डबल वैमी. उससे करवाया 1 साल, कहा अच्छा नहीं जाऊंगा मैं इसके बाद, मैं वन ऑफ माई नेबर साइड, अब इसके पास चले जाओ. उसके बाद क्या, उसने मेरे CNG फिल्टर की वायर निकाल दी. उसका वैक्यूम, एक उसमें वैक्यूम पाइप होती है, वो निकाल दी. और गाड़ी में आवाज आ रही है मुझे, सर नहीं पता लगा, सर आपकी कार खराब है, सर CNG फिल्टर खराब हो गया जी, ये खराब है जी, वो खराब है जी. मैं कहा अच्छा मैं जा रहा हूँ. मैंने 6 महीने चलाई गाड़ी ऐसी तंग हो के. और सबसे बड़े, those of you who have CNG cars, the biggest problem I faced, when I would brake, the car would switch off. क्योंकि उसमें it wasn't connected. I took it to a service center in वजीरपुर इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया. उसके पास गया GT कनाल रोड पर, उसने मुझसे 2000 रुपए लिए. He made my car better than brand new. सर्विस the entire car. अब मैं उसके बाद हुंडई को उससे कॉल आता है, सर कार की सर्विस जो मैं कहता, थैंक यू फॉर रिमाइंडिंग मी. Keep the phone down. I'm not getting it repaired from you guys. Eventually क्या हुआ? What have both of them have done combined to do? I've lost faith on Hyundai as a company, as a brand. Product अच्छा है, product बहुत अच्छा है. I love my car. Nothing wrong in it. Nothing that I don't like about it. But I get it now service from my neighborhood mechanic. मेरी service due है. मैं लाऊंगा original Hyundai के spare parts, but I'll get it service from my mechanic. And where does Hyundai lose in this? Labor charges and service charges which they charge me, and that's a hefty amount of money. Now they're going to lose it because where a product needs regular support and service, the marketer's life doesn't end. कोलगेट में एंड हो जाएगी, एक ट्यूब खत्म हुई, कोलगेट में आपकी लाइफ खत्म होगी मार्केटर की. बट इफ इट्स अ लैपटॉप, if it's a printer, if it's a mobile phone, if it's a car, where you need repairs, you need updates, you need security. अब Samsung का कोई भी phone लो, it promises on their website, we will give you updates for 3 years. Why do they promise that? It is the Apple story. Apple ने क्या सिखाया world को? Don't give software upgrades beyond a specific point in time. 2-3 मॉडल तक दो, उसके बाद छोड़ दो. Force the customers to upgrade. But then there were many customers who rebelled. So Samsung came up with a strategy. We'll give you updates for 3 years. We are giving you better lifetime value. Buy a Samsung device. Don't buy a Xiaomi or an Apple or anything. क्या होता है? 3 years. 3 years. 3 years. मॉडल से फर्क नहीं पड़ता उनको, वो 3 years तक देते हैं. Apple. आज की डेट में आई हैव गॉट एन iPad which I purchased in 2015. Nobody gives an update, और वो 4 साल से अपडेट्स आउट है. 16 नहीं था उसमें, 15 था. 16 नहीं आया उस पर. 16 नहीं आया, 16 मर गया अब. 16 is dead for it now, right? So that's the problem. That's the problem. And now what they did, Apple did that. Companies followed, customers rebelled. So Samsung came up with a marketing tactic. We'll give you guaranteed updates for 3 years. Lifetime value. Because when you buy an expensive product, you want it to last for a long time. Right? So as a marketer, depending on the product, आपका effort life तक है. Which is, if you look at auto companies, one of the places where they make money is resale. Second hand cars, trade in cars. जिन लोगों ने अगर नई cars आपने पिछले 5-6 साल में purchase की हो, वो आपको हमेशा सर पुरानी कार देनी है अपने सेल में, हम आपको एक्स्ट्रा डिस्काउंट दे देंगे. ट्रेड इन डिस्काउंट. Apple does that. Apple does that. You trade in an older phone, you get a newer model at a significantly lower price. Again, lifetime value. Then you have primary products which are raw materials, simple. Brand attributes. One example for this would be Subway. Now what is Subway's uniqueness in the fast food industry? They promote healthy, healthier hota nahi hai, but they promote it, and true customers like me get suckered, that's all right. But the one thing that I have an advantage with Subway is instant customization. You can add, you can subtract whatever you want, you can do it. McDonald's में इतना नहीं मिलेगा आपको, for example. But then Subway charges accordingly. But why am I willing to pay? It is linking with my value proposition. I want something which is healthier but fast and quick. Subway is a good option. So in my case, मेरे को Subway आजकल थोड़ा सा, I like it a little bit more. At least it has this. At least मुझे खुश होता है कि मैं diet पे हूँ. Though I am one who's been on a perpetual diet since 1995. मैं अभी तक diet पे हूँ. My diet is eat as much as I can. I am on that diet, right? So that's the problem. Subway has that attribute. Then secondary products, okay? Secondary में आएगा, for example, camera lenses. They are a secondary product. Which is why typically if you buy, those of you who like photography, कोई है जिसके पास who likes photography? Somebody who's interested in photography, who's got that professional level Canon वाले cameras, Canon and Nikon के cameras है कोई इधर who likes that? So do you have extra lenses for that device? You got it with that, na? So the point is that now for a secondary product, the challenge is you may not need it. The normal camera is enough. Secondary product के साथ यही problem होती है. If the initial product or the primary product is good enough, where is the market for your product?
So lenses का अलग अलग purpose होता है.
हाँ, the
My
point.
cousin is into it. He has bought like a lens for about 1.6.
हाँ हाँ आराम से आएगा, आराम से आएगा. इनको तो वो कॉम्बो, हाँ वो टेलीफोटो होगा ना, टेलीफोटो होगा ना. बट द पॉइंट इज इफ यू टेक मी एज अ कस्टमर, माई फोन इज मोर देन सफिशिएंट फॉर मी टू टेक फोटोग्राफ्स. सो मेरे को कैमरा की कभी जरूरत ही नहीं लगी. ए आई हैव अ प्रॉब्लम विद माई फोन इज सफिशिएंट पर्सनल टेस्ट सफिशिएंट फॉर मी, इट्स सफिशिएंट. एंड सेकेंड इज मेरे को एक एक्स्ट्रा डिवाइस उठाते हुए आलस आता है. There are people who are aficionados. I'm sure if you are an aficionado, you'll have that full backpack, you'll have the harness, you'll have the lens pockets, you'll have the lens wiping ka cloth, you'll have the high-speed HD cards in those SD cards in it. You'll do everything properly. शौक है तो. So secondary product के साथ यही disadvantage होता है. You have to target. So secondary products typically, by definition, will end up being a niche product. By definition, they'll end up being niche क्योंकि वो primary product पे dependent है. But in certain cases, so take a toothbrush with a toothpaste. So Colgate's primary product is toothpaste, but you can't apply toothpaste without a toothbrush. So in this case, the secondary product is equally important as the primary product. But in many cases, the secondary product is dependent on the primary product to survive and grow. Okay, then last part, advisory. Medicine से better example होगा आपका financial services. Investment services, investment banking, investment advisory will be a better example in this case, right? So these are various type of products that exist in the market. Any questions so far? No? Okay. हाँ जी, एडवाइजरी में आपको कोई भी फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज हो गए, बैंक्स आपको वो देते ना इन्वेस्टमेंट एडवाइस, अपना पैसा यहाँ लगाइए वहाँ लगाइए, वो एडवाइजरी सर्विसेज, फाइनेंशियल एडवाइजरी सर्विसेज बहुत सारे मिलेंगे आपको ये ऐसे. A CA firm, for example, could be that example, right? Okay. So now let's look at last part which we'll do for today is okay. So I'm taking HUL as an example. So in product mix ये एक बड़ा important concept है, product line, length, breadth, depth, width. So this is basically okay, that's how it will go. So the product width, this is width, different product categories that I have. So in Apple case, for example, if I want to take an example, Apple, phones, laptops, tablets, devices, additional devices would be 4 categories. और ये आप Xiaomi में भी देख सकते हो. Look at Xiaomi's website. It's divided into 3-4 categories, product wise. Okay. So this is the width. Then whatever brands I have, A, B, C, D, this is length, depth. Depth क्या है? So आपका हो गया एक नीम हो गया, ओरल हो गया, ओरल नहीं सॉरी, सो कर दो एक आप नीम हो गया, एक हो गया से आपका sensitivity. This is your breadth होगा ये. Yes, this is depth. Okay. And then you have in all of this neem ka 50 grams, 100 grams, SKUs make your bread. So just this is line length. Products under category body. So Dove, Nivea, for example, मेरे को याद नहीं कंपनी के. Dove, Nivea, anything under जो brands हैं, वो इस category के. So think of it like that. Product category, brand, product variant, package variant is your for width, length, depth and breadth. This is important क्योंकि आपको बार बार मार्केटिंग में ये कंसेप्ट आएगा. How to stretch. Now when I talk of Colgate, how can Colgate increase its sales? एक तो है increase the sales of toothpaste. मैंने सबको advertise करके बोल दिया brush twice a day. Some of you may do it, some of you don't do it. Typically everybody tends to brush twice a day, maximum 3 times a day. इससे ज़्यादा तो आप toothpaste नहीं consume कर रहे. What else can Colgate do? What else is Colgate used for? Nozzle का size increase कर. Every time you use it, you consume more. हाँ जी. वही उसी उसमें मैं आता हूँ अभी. एक मिनट. पहले let's stick with the basic one. Step 1. हाँ जी. नहीं एक बार स्टेप बाय स्टेप चलते हैं. स्टेप 1 इज कोलगेट. मैं कैसे इंक्रीज करूं सेल्स ऑफ टूथपेस्ट? आई कैन टेल यू टू ब्रश ट्वाइस अ डे. आई कैन मेक अ बिगर नोजल. अच्छा, अब मुझे एक बात बताओ. Why are they doing that? Consume in one go. You consume more product. ठीक है. अब second part of this debate. Where can Colgate be used other than for brushing teeth? Where have you used Colgate other than brushing your teeth? Cleaning silverware, perfect. Burns, pimples. Those of you who live in hostels, filling up the walls where you've drilled holes. ठीक है, but can Colgate advertise as Colgate pimple cream? It works on pimples. My sister used to swear by it, and she doesn't have pimples anymore. So, काम कर गया उनके लिए. She used to swear by it like anything. But can I have a Colgate pimple cream? Can I have a Colgate wall putty? It works. Logically, can I have a Colgate burn cream? Logically, it can be right, but it doesn't link with my brand attributes. I cannot have that. So, अब मैं sales कैसे increase करूँ अपनी? That's when I come to other things. So Colgate then came out with more expensive variants. Colgate और चारकोल वाला आता है, Colgate Total आता है, Colgate Plaques है, Colgate Whitening है, आपके नीम वाला है, वेद शक्ति है. All they're trying to do is everything that the customer wants वहाँ पे एक product है. But all of these products are more expensive than the white Colgate. So even though you consume more, consume same, you pay more. Wallet share. ठीक है. फिर Colgate ने आपको बोला जी once you brush your teeth, Colgate works best with a Colgate toothbrush. Toothbrush भी मेरा ले लिया. Again wallet share. फिर किसी ने बोला Colgate का माउथ वॉश करा करो हर मील के बाद. फिर फ्लॉस करा करो. Eventually what they've done? इतना सा बॉक्स था उसको उन्होंने इतना बड़ा कर दिया. They created that oral care ecosystem, and in doing that, they made themselves the de facto oral care brand in customers' minds. And anybody say toothpaste, the first name that pops up in your head is Colgate. चाहे आप use करो ना करो, it's a separate story. But the moment everybody says Colgate, toothpaste, Colgate, end of story. Right? That's where this whole product mix wala part comes in. ठीक है? Just let me see what else we can cover up in this part again. Then there is this lots of stuff here. Breadth. SKU, stock keeping unit. SKU is basically the size. So a sachet, a bottle, these are all SKUs, stock keeping unit. That's where the term comes in. Okay? So I think it is 11:15. You guys have a break starting. I don't want to intrude into that. So we'll stop here. So please isko stop कर दीजिएगा. ठीक है ना? And whenever we get the next chance, please keep reading your SLM and please keep your eyes open for examples. Right? And you've been very good with examples, so thank you.